And this is America's Mayor Live, and tonight we are live. And this is Christmas night 2024. It's also the first night of Hanukkah, which happens rarely, very rarely. Christmas, of course, was celebrated all over the world. The main celebrations are in Rome, the Pope saying Mass for the world, really, and then, of course, there used to be a very, very important Mass said in Bethlehem, the town of Jesus's birth, but that has been really reduced to a very difficult situation since it's under the control of the Palestinian Authority. And I had gone to church there years ago when it was controlled by Israel. And a great memory of mine is having communion there with with several other New Yorkers. And then I went back and I wanted to go and they wouldn't let me go. They said it was too dangerous. It shouldn't be too dangerous to say Mass in the place that Jesus was born. It's only one indication of how we've horribly messed up the Middle East policy from the time that we thought we could have a two-state solution and never did anything about that state being a terrorist state. But Christmas was celebrated all over the world, and people, if they celebrate it for what it really is, are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who to Christians is our Savior, the person who saved us. He's the person who brings us to God. He is God, and he died in order to expiate our sins, to purify us in the eyes of God. And he was the ultimate, really, in what I always have considered a dignification of humanity beyond any other civilization or culture, that began with the ancient Greeks and the Jews and the Hebrews. The ancient Greeks made man through the study of philosophy and the other arts, made man's mind the most predominant factor about the universe. What distinguished man from animal, and it was our ability to reason at a level that is almost unexplainable, and not quite at the same time, but in a slightly different part of the world, the Jewish religion grew up, and of course, right in Genesis, it begins with man is made in the image and likeness of God. He made them in the image and likeness of God. He made them man and woman. That's in the first book, I think the first chapter of Genesis, or second. And from then on, it's a constant progression in Western civilization of the importance of the human being and the importance of human life. And it culminates in God coming to earth, showing human beings the way to salvation if they want to follow it, and then showing them how there is life after death for them in the kingdom of heaven. And that's Christmas has lots of meanings to all of us and lots of personal things that happen, but that's the real story of Christmas. And it's important to reemphasize that now at a time in which we very much need God back in America. We need God back in the world. There was a disturbing note in the New York Post yesterday about the gradual cancellation of Christmas in France, Spain, the United Kingdom, and Germany. every one of those originally being very strong Catholic countries, and then very strong participants in the Protestant Reformation. France and Spain remained predominantly Catholic countries. United Kingdom became a Protestant country, although Henry VIII would dispute that with you. And Germany, of course, became more of a quintessential Protestant country under Luther, but very religious countries. And Germany, kind of a split country, if not 50-50, pretty close to it. And now, perhaps the most worrying symptom of the West's renunciation of its Judeo-Christian cultural identity, it is happening at all levels, from government and city councils to schools and associations. It's the secularists of the socialist left, behind the facade of inclusivity, who are the most determined to cancel Christmas. They want to cancel Christianity, too. So the main problem with mass Muslim immigration in the West is their very low rate of assimilation in the host culture. But what's more dangerous is that native leaders are so determined to deny their own identity. I hope that's not the case. And I hope that there's a revival. I feel that in a way there is a revival of religion. It is important also to take a moment and also celebrate together with our Jewish brethren and Hanukkah. It's important because it's a great feast and a great moment in Jewish history, but it's important because I don't think I'm exaggerating this. I think this is quite accurate and even, and that is that I don't know that there's been a worse period of anti-Semitism in Europe and the United States other than during the Hitler era. I mean, we've had anti-Semitism since Hitler. We've also had periods of time where I thought, and maybe incorrectly, that it was under control, and really thought it was under control in this country. I'm very hurt and disappointed that the level of anti-Semitism is so great in this country. It's terrible. And we've talked about it a lot. So instead of talking about that, let's talk about Hanukkah and what the menorah is. I don't know if you can see it. I'll hold it up to the camera, but I have my own little menorah here. I brought it with me to New Hampshire, and I'm going to light it in the tradition. Hanukkah commemorates the rededication of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem after a very small but very, very tough group called the Maccabees defeated the Greek-Syrian army. And during the battle, the Jews had only enough oil to light the temple's menorah for one night. So they lit one candle, and then every night after that, when they went to light it, there was just oil there. God produced the oil. And of course, it was a miracle celebrating their tremendous heroism and their defeat of an army 10 times their size. This year, the first night of Hanukkah is tonight, and it begins on Christmas Day. And it's only the fifth time since 1910 that they've come together. 1910, 1921, 1959, 2005, and tonight, and it will happen again in 2035. And it's also fallen on Christmas Eve 4 times. And it's determined by the Jewish calendar. I will not try to describe that to you. I won't do. I won't do a good job of really describing it to you. But it's a liturgical calendar that shifts, similar to the way the Easter season does for Christians, with a slight difference between Orthodox Christians and Western Christians. So Hanukkah is 8 days. It's celebrated for 8 days, and each night you'll light one candle for each night, plus an additional one called the shamash. That's the helper candle, which is lit first each night and used to light the others. So the shamash is you may see it as a white or gold one in the middle here, and I will light it, and then I will light. So on the first night of Hanukkah, which is tonight, we light the shamash candle, which is the white one. And then we light the first night of Hanukkah candle, and then we will consecutively light candles each night. So here's one. And there is two. The first night of Hanukkah candle is giving me a little trouble. There it is. That's as high as I can take it. Okay. I will put another candle in for that one when we take a break. And then when you see it in the back, it'll be in great shape. So we'll light one each night. We'll continue our ceremony in Florida. And a little bit of good news for Christmas. Always some good news. Life expectancy has gone up in the United States. Isn't that nice? I think that's nice. I mean, you always like to have longer life expectancy than shorter. And it rose in 2023, 0.9 years, so 9 months. It rose 9 months. And the overall mortality rate, adjusted for age, was affected by 6%. A typical 65-year-old can now expect to live basically 20 years, 19.5 years, and that's up from last year when it was only 18.9. And of course, some of that difference was affected by COVID, but it's also been just a general trend. Israel is becoming quite, I would say, quite active, and has been quite active in this. I don't know what we would call this period. It's a very, very strange period where Biden is just doing weird. He's not really being president. The best example of that was that whole situation over the drones, the thousands and thousands of drones over New Jersey. I spent today with two people from New Jersey who met two other people from New Jersey, and they were just livid I mean, if this had happened before the election, Trump would have won by another 5%. I mean, this was just completely asleep, and then stupid answers. But of course, we still don't know. We are told what it isn't. It's not a foreign power, says the White House and our military. Have they lied to us consistently over and over again before about very important matters? Yes. Did they lie to Trump? Because he sort of reiterated it, but he would reiterate that because that's what they told him. And they better have told him because he's the next president. But in any event, if it's not a foreign power and it's not a normal situation, I mean, yeah, there are drones up there a lot, but not. There weren't 3,000 drones over Charlottesville or over Miami or over Chicago. Or in any event, we don't know what that was. That is not right. That really is a terrible way to run a government, and it's hard to even define us as a representative democracy. It's as if we're a government by and for the elite and the leaders. It's a terrible, terrible situation. So there was a back and forth between the Houthis and Israel during this holiday. The Israelis did a pretty big attack on Yemen the other day, probably their biggest so far. It should be somewhat embarrassing, if anything embarrasses the Biden cabal, that they're doing our dirty work for us. The Houthis have, for the last year and a half, conducted well over 100 attacks in the Red Sea, and they conducted an international shipping. It's always been our job unofficially to police the Red Sea. Our Navy polices the Red Sea. This has been an interest of ours going back to Thomas Jefferson and the creation of our United States Marines, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. And we just got the hell kicked out of us by the Houthis, and we had responses that encourage further attack. I call them Clinton responses, hit empty fields. The kind of responses he had to bin Laden after bin Laden killed American sailors and attacked an American ship of war, conducted an act of war, and we made wag the dog tail, kind of attack, which encouraged bin Laden to come to the conclusion that we were a paper tiger. And so the Houthis have killed some Americans, injured many Americans in these attacks, and we have done no response. The last month or so, we have done two fairly modest attacks, but the Israelis apparently did a very, very, very big attack, and it was returned by an attempt to bomb Tel Aviv, which I think was intercepted effectively. At least, right? I have not seen a report of casualties, but we'll check just to be sure. But this, you got to go back. There was a Houthi attack on Israel a week ago, and they hadn't really been attacking Israel. That's sort of a new development, attacking Israel. They've done a few, but most of their attacks have been on shipping in the Red Sea. And Israel retaliated with a very big attack on Yemen, and now they've retaliated with an attack yesterday on Israel. Before that attack, there had been 200 missiles and 120 drones that had been used to attack Israel by the Houthis. But I think the attack today, will add to that number. America is making a last push for return of the hostages, and on Christmas night, on the night of Hanukkah, it is a night to remember that we have hostages. And it's a tragedy that we have to remember that we have hostages. How often has this administration, and I'm not just talking about Biden, because Biden, I'm talking about all of them, they don't really care about the hostages, correct? When I say they don't love America, why would anybody look at me in any way other than to agree with me? American presidents throughout our history have been tortured by the fact that there were hostages. It tortured Carter. It tortured Reagan. It led Carter to doing a very, very ill-fated helicopter rescue with the helicopter going down in the sand, and it led to some of the Iran-Contra situation for Ronald Reagan, because we have the policy of not negotiating for hostages, and if you read any of the really knowledgeable biographies of Reagan, he was tortured by the fact that there were American hostages. He had gotten the original group out from Iran, but we're talking about hostages in various of the Islamic extremist countries. Doesn't seem to bother Biden at all. From the time that he showed up, for the 13 members of our military who were killed because of his inane decisions in Afghanistan, and he showed up late because he had to take a 1 hour, kept the family waiting for that ceremony over an hour because he took a nap. And then when he got there, oh, I want to get out of here, boy. These people aren't important. They don't give me money like Hunter gets for me. But what he's, there are no words I can use for a president who doesn't pay a damn bit of attention to the fact that his citizens are being held hostage, and he doesn't do a damn thing about it. Yet he negotiates. How is it possible that a little teeny tiny country that Israel has, basically kicked all around Gaza, and now they've kicked them all around Syria, we can't get our hostages back? I just think the right pressure on Qatar would get our hostages back. But then again, I don't know what side the Biden administration is on. They seem to be on Iran's side, really. They give a lot more money to Iran than Israel. So I think there'll be a political attempt, because that's all they do is make political calculations. They don't make calculations of conscience or principle or care about our American citizens that are hostages, or the Israelis who are hostages. So to all of the families, I think they're in a terrible position of not knowing how many are alive. But it's a question of they want their father back. They want their grandfather back. They allegedly have about 100. But how many are alive? How many are dead? I don't think anybody knows. And I think the fear is that more likely than not, a large number of them are now gone. One of them, Shlomo Mansour, is written about today by his granddaughter, Naomi Safer. And this is the second Hanukkah that they are without him. He's 86, and he's been a hostage since he's 86, and he's somewhat hard of hearing. So she is describing in her op-ed piece what her mental picture of what it must be like for an 86-year-old grandfather who was taken from kibbutz Kisufim, which is basically right next to Gaza. And the other thing about this attack, the attack was specifically targeted at civilians. And the civilians specifically targeted were the people who live in the kibbutzes. they are people who tend to be the Israeli left, who are, if there is any sympathy at all for a two-state solution left in Israel, it's with them. What? I would have to think that they don't want a two-state solution. The only people who want a two-state solution are the Americans and the Europeans. But we don't have to live next to the terrorist state. And the Palestinians have no interest in Israel existing. So they don't want a two-state solution. They want to send them from the river to the sea. Could they be any clearer? No. Could we be any more stupid? No. Or is it beyond being stupid? I don't know. So to Naomi, I hope you get your grandfather back. Naomi, I hope they all come back. I hope we have. I hope they either decide that they'll let him go now because they don't want Trump to get the credit for their being released, or they'll wait until Trump goes into office and they'll release it because they want some goodwill with Trump. But they may not do it at all. It's hard. It's hard to predict the workings and the rationalizations of evil people, and these are evil people. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be back, and we're going to talk about something very, very exciting. And I mean, I have a theory about this. That's a theory, and I'm going to see if I can get Ted to get involved in it also, about what the new president is doing with the putting on the table acquisition of China, the acquisition of the acquisition of the Panama Canal, and the acquisition of Greenland. We'll be right back. Okay, now I can.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
Oh, there's a commercial.
Rudy, you were smiling in your sleep.
I know the perfect gift for Christmas. Go to rudy.coffee.
You were smiling in your sleep.
I know the perfect gift for Christmas. Go to rudy.coffee. We could do it now, and next week we could do it. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on America's Mayor Live. And here we are live on Christmas night and Hanukkah night. Isn't that nice? Now, I'm going to fix my my beautiful menorah and get it right here, because the wick on this one here didn't work. And then I'm going to put it in the right position here, so I don't burn this place down. Here we go. I think you'll be able to see it throughout the entire show if I put it here, right? There you go. It's in the corner, see? You know what I'll do? I'll put it near the blue. See, it'll stick out. Look at that. There's my, so by 8 days from now, we'll have that all filled in. We'll have it'll all be filled in. So I think that when Donald Trump first raised, and I forget now for a second which he raised first, Greenland, Canada, Panama Canal. Now, Greenland, it probably would be the first. There's Ted. Ted,
Hey, Mayor.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mayor.
You know, Dr. Maria's doing a job tonight. She's the tech
That's right.
person,
And you know what?
but she's a little under the
doing such
weather.
a good
So
job. I'm like the I'm gonna be like let's see, a football. You know, you have a good baseball reference, but I'm gonna be like the she's like Tom Brady. I'm Drew Bledsoe, right? Drew
yeah, well, you don't
Bledsoe
want to be
went,
Tom Brady. He didn't do too well as an announcer, right?
well, when he came in.
So I think so. 4 or 5 years ago, Trump, for the first time, raised the issue of Denmark, of Denmark taking or buying, I guess, Greenland from Denmark. Now, this is not weird, because the Louisiana Purchase we paid for. We paid for Alaska. We bought Alaska from Russia, and it was considered Seward's folly. It was the Secretary of State of Abraham Lincoln who did it, and he was considered to have made a very big mistake buying useless land. Of course, it turns out to be oil rich, useless my backside, and that whole western part of Canada. I mean, it supplies 60% of our energy needs. So, I mean, it's a small country in terms of the number of people, but it's a large country. It's a large country with regard to the size of it. So he's got the three of them on the table. Canada, which was the first one he brought up this time, Greenland, and the Panama Canal. So what do you think? Is he serious?
I think I've been, we've seen some reports. I think he's 100% serious about Greenland. He seems 100% serious about Panama. And with the Canada thing, I'm not sure if he's just trolling Mr. Trudeau or how serious he is. But I've been told a good number of Canadians might be on board for that. And you mentioned, especially out west, and like maybe the Calgary
area. Yeah, you have to, just think. I mean, you got to realize there's a whole cowboy country in Western Canada. The Calgary Stampede, the rodeo and Stampede. I mean, that's one of the great cowboy get-togethers, and those are those people. Those people are you can't tell those people apart from our latter-day cowboys. There's a great deal of cattle ranches, and of course, they're like we are, a very big producer of oil. I don't know that they have produced the same amount of natural gas that we do, but they produce as much or maybe more oil than we do. We produce more natural gas than they do, but it would be an energy powerhouse. If we were to come together, I'm absolutely certain we would have bigger reserves than Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
We certainly would be the number one natural gas in the world. America could be number one. There's a whole thought that below the places that we're now fracking, because fracking, we didn't know about fracking until 80 or 90 years ago. We were just taking oil just out of the earth that's right near the surface. But then somebody realized if you go way down into rock formations, you can get more oil, like way down. And then they realized if you move a little to the right or left, you can shake up the rocks and you get natural gas. And now it's been discovered that if you go down way below that level, there's a much more ancient and possibly even greater reserve, particularly of natural gas there. So the Marcellus shale, which is one of our biggest, they're certain that there's a shale below that has more than we presently have. And right now, we're either one or two in terms of natural gas reserves. And here we want to get rid of fossil fuels to power us and do this crazy stuff. So you think he's serious? Why do you think he's serious about Canada, about Greenland and Panama?
Well, just reading some of the reports I've seen, Mayor, it has indicated just how serious he is. And you remember back during the first administration, he had floated this idea about Greenland, right, with Denmark previously. So there's a history there, and it's in our, as you know more than anybody, Mayor, it's in our geostrategic interest to ensure that Greenland remains free from some of our adversaries' control, right? And of course, Russia is constantly making moves in that part of the world, and I'm concerned about China. And then when we go down to Panama, that's even more. There's even more clear of a case, right, for Panama. I mean, this is a canal that was built by the Americans. We lost so much blood and treasure building that thing. It's something other countries were unable to do. But under, I believe it was Teddy Roosevelt, starting with Teddy Roosevelt, we were able to accomplish that. And you were around with Jimmy Carter. I can't believe it. He literally
Gosh,
gave that
I thought
thing
you were
away
going to
for
say I was
$1.
around with Teddy Roosevelt.
Absolutely not. Although you
He was a
have the wisdom
Republican.
of Teddy Roosevelt.
He was a New York
right?
Republican.
A New
I've
York
seen his house
Republican.
many times out on Long Island. I love going there. People, you should.
He
People
was
should
the
go there.
mayor or police commissioner. He was the police commissioner, correct?
Pardon me? He was the police commissioner of New York City. It was a slightly different kind of. We now have a singular police commissioner. We used to have a 5-person police commission, and he was the head commissioner, like the head of the FTC or the FCC.
That's interesting.
And he was less than 40 years old when he did that, because he was the youngest president, but appointed, and Kennedy was the youngest president, but elected. So
he took over. That's right.
McKinley.
Was that when McKinley?
McKinley.
Speaking of McKinley, there's another decision by the president. I'd love to get your feedback on this, Mayor. President Trump says what's now called Mount Denali, it was previously called Mount McKinley for 100 years. He wants to return the name. Under Obama, they took away this tribute to who some consider a great American president, right? Who oversaw a lot of westward expansion, and he backed the gold standard. And then
he's kind of a scholars put him in, I'd say the category right below great, but I don't think ordinary people, really people who are not history buffs, he's one of those that gets too little attention for what he accomplished, and of course he was cut short. He was killed, I think, in the first year of his.
By an assassin.
I think it was the first or second year of his second administration.
That's right. And so even more reason to maintain a monument to him, right? Like you said, a lot of folks, he isn't as remembered as someone like Roosevelt or Lincoln, but for them to take away this monument to a previous president, right? And then rename it Denali, which I believe means big mountain or something in one of the native languages. To me, it's a no-brainer, and it's a terrible precedent that someone like
It's
Obama is setting.
exactly what I was reading before about what's going on in Europe and giving up Christmas. We're giving away our culture. We're giving it away. It's like everybody else's culture should be recognized, but not ours. So I mean, this got me way back in 2000 when they did the absolutely horrendous attacks on the Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ at the Brooklyn Museum, and they put live cow dung on a horrible, I think, fairly, if not pornographic, fairly kind of a nude picture of the Blessed Mother, the Virgin Mary. And then, of course, they did some horrible things with Jesus. And they had just canceled an exhibit in Chicago because they had done terrible things to Muhammad. And the city of Chicago threw him out. And I said, and they had 2 years before done a piss Christ at a private museum in New York. And I was urged to close it down. And I said, I can't close it down. It's private. I have to protect these idiots. I think they're idiots. I think they're horrible. I think they're terrible. But they have an absolute right on private property to do whatever the hell they want. But they were getting $30 million from New York City. So I just pulled it, and the left wing went nuts. Soros's wife was on that committee, and they went crazy. They went crazy. But I said, if it's good enough for the Muslim religion, it's good enough for the Catholic and Christian religion.
That's right, Mayor.
And actually the things about Muhammad. So now they'll really go crazy and we'll have demonstrations. If I recall correctly, these were paintings that were rather accurate. It was a painting of him killing a lot of Jews. He actually did kill a lot of Jews. He actually did a mass killing of Jews in order to take over an oil vineyard, an olive oil. The Jews made the best olive oil on the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Well, any places where you can do olive oil there, I have no idea. But he wanted the town, and so his practice was to go in and kill the elders. And this way he'd get their attention, because he couldn't spread his religion by preaching the way Christianity. He didn't have a Peter and a Paul who went around and convinced people on the weight of the power of the religion that people should convert. When he tried to do that, he got thrown out. So then he organized an army, and he converted by conquering and killing. Sorry. You got to live. You got to grow up, everybody, and stop all this crap of lying and not telling people the truth and pretending that all this killing that goes on with Muslim extremists doesn't have basis in the Quran. It's not the Talmud and it's not the New Testament. It's a different book, half good, half bad. And they should get rid of the half bad part.
That's right, Mayor. And I want to make a distinction, right? When you say we're getting rid of our own history in that, it's not all of us. It's not you. It's not me. It's not President Trump. It's the Marxist communist left. And
no, it is. It's on purpose, Ted. And that's why they're doing away with Christmas too. So it turns out that President Jose Raul Molino told Trump with China's full support. That was really helpful, getting China's support, Raul, that every square meter of the Panama Canal in its Asia zone belongs to Panama and will continue to do so. Bold for the leader of a country with no army and a long history of corruption. The last president's in jail. It's kind of like New York City and Chicago. half the politicians go to jail, and the other half. No, half the politicians go to jail. 1/4 don't, and 1/4 should, but they don't.
That's right.
And Noriega didn't think we could get him out either. Remember?
That's right,
Well,
Mayor.
So Trump, you know what Trump's response was? Very calm.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
We'll see about that. Yeah, I mean,
We'll see about
it's
that.
great to have a leader again, right? It's like we have a president again. It's so hard. It's been quite some time. It's been 4 years. So just him being willing to take these, say these things out loud and start the discussion, to me, is just such
It's
a change of
exciting.
pace.
Instead of
It's
talking
exciting.
about we're coming to the end of the American century, hey, maybe we're coming to the beginning of a new century.
Absolutely.
It's going to make our people a lot more motivated, a lot higher morale, a lot more creative when you're doing positive things, when you're just defending yourself against attacks on your culture. So in order of importance, in order of value, the most valuable acquisition would be Canada, of course, because of the energy. In order of strategic importance, tough between Greenland and Panama, right? Tough. I mean, Canada would be I think it'd be a great deal for both of us. But in any event, we are good friends, and we're going to remain good friends, and there's no national security issue there. But both Panama and Greenland, you can make a really good national security point for that, and particularly with South America and China making moves in South America.
Absolutely.
It's a good way to push back. Good offense. I mean, a good offense can push back a good defense, right? You go on offense and take it before they take it.
The best defense is a good offense. That's right, Mayor.
Well, the other thing that I hate to talk about during Christmas, but I am, are the outrageous Biden pardons of 37 of 40 people sitting on federal death row, and the only ones not, I mean, he isn't even subtle. The only ones not commuted, I should have said commuted, are 3 that would be politically damaging to him to do it. And that is the Boston marathon bomber, which would, of course, really ignite all of Boston, including, a lot of the lefties who voted for him. He doesn't have many people supporting him, so you don't want to ignite them. And then the attack on the Jewish synagogue, the synagogue he claimed to have gone to, but he didn't. He just lied about that. And then, and the third one is also political. I've forgotten which that one was. There's a third.
So you have the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, the Charleston.
Pittsburgh was the Jewish
the Black
synagogue,
Church in South Carolina.
Oh yes, the one in South Carolina.
And then obviously Boston.
The others now don't have a political constituency, but they have a conscience constituency. Killing babies, pedophilia, cop killer. Did anybody ever tell them that those people who kill little babies and have sexual attacks on them are incurable? And he said, they could be life without parole. There are 29 cop killers walking around New York City, all released since 2019. They all were going to be in prison for much longer or for life. So the minute you commute it, now you got, everybody yelling and screaming, and all you need is the wrong person sitting in the White House, another Biden or another Obama, another left-wing communist, and they'll let them out too. I mean, once they're commuted, the possibility is always there. I guarantee you some of them will be let out. If there's any doubt about it. Not a doubt about it. And it's just a further assault on our system of justice by a man who has desecrated our system of justice in many, many, not only being a criminal himself, but using for the first time in American history, the powerful weapon of crime, prosecutions for crime, and taking away a man or woman's liberty for political revenge or for political advantage. The four prosecutions of Trump would have defeated him. Have him on trial so he couldn't run. Get him convicted so he can't get elected. And they tried as hard as they could to put him in jail. I mean, it is remarkable that Trump won this election. It's remarkable that he won it. When you consider all of the plots they were running against him. I mean, I consider, when they did January 6th, I said, just another chapter in the book. It's just another chapter in how can we create frauds to make Trump look like the bad guy. I mean, Trump says, go to the Capitol peacefully and patriotically. And Ray Epps says, break into the Capitol and burn it down. And he doesn't go to jail because he's an FBI stool pitcher, an FBI creator of the riot, urging people, a creator of the riot, meaning for days, if not weeks, organizing people to go there and cause trouble. And he's right there on video the day before and the day of, or John Sullivan, who said, come to Washington and take him out. Take out President Trump. What I'm telling you are in writing. And Sullivan, I don't know, I'm not even sure he got a prison sentence. Now he's the one. Looks an awful lot like he knew exactly when the kill shot was going to happen with Ashley Babbitt. And they take the murder of a human being and they push it under the rug. For that, he shouldn't only be prosecuted, he should go to hell. Remember, we talked about the importance of human life in Western civilization and in the Jewish religion and the Christian religion? Yeah, really important for these people. Really important. I know this will also stir up a lot of controversy, but I think what the communists did to get us to devalue human life, because they devalue human life. Communism is more important than human life. Was part of removing God from our culture, from our country, but from our country and from our culture. And I think the massive slaughter of, or abortion, the massive slaughter of, now how do you want to describe it? Life from the point of conception, life from the point of viability, or you can kill it anytime, right up until a moment before it comes out of the womb, because we're such we're so nihilistic and so concerned just with ourselves that we have no responsibility for the child that we have in our womb. That child can be sacrificed to our having to get an education, or being able to date some more, or it's a terrible thing when you have a society in which more black children in Harlem are aborted than are born. That's a bad thing. It creates an undercurrent of lack of morality that that you don't. Maybe I should put it this way: you don't know what you're releasing when you do that. You don't know the evil that you're releasing when you do that. Slaughter of innocents. I mean, just confine yourself to the 6, 7, 8, 9-month-olds in the womb. And the further along you go, the clearer it is. But I don't know how anybody could argue that that is the taking of a human being, the life of a human being. So they slaughter life, potential life, however you want to look at it, as if it means nothing, and then they let out of prison aggravated murderers and sexual deviants. Oh, and Chinese spies. Well, of course, we know why that was. So I don't know. It was a bad time of year to put out the Festivus report that's done by Rand Paul, but he's got some very interesting things here. And before we finish, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we'll cover these, and then we'll let you go finish your Christmas night enjoyment of one of the great holidays of the year, one of the great feasts that we celebrate that sets us apart as followers and believers of Jesus Christ. We'll be back very shortly.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order.
This holiday season, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is delivering dozens of mortgage-free homes to deserving recipients during its Season of Hope. Tunnel to Towers welcomed U.S. Army Captain David Christopher into its mortgage-free smart home during a prior Season of Hope. David sustained catastrophic injuries in an accident in the line of duty. During this Season of Hope, let's help all those who have sacrificed so much for us. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Well, I'm looking at these Festivus findings by Rand Paul. Now, this started, Festivus is the feast of the day before Christmas Eve. And I don't know exactly how Rand came up with that as the time he releases it. I think it kind of gets buried a little bit. These have been very, very interesting over the years. But now, like they say, I think it was Edward Dirksen would say, oh, you're only cutting 300,000 from the budget. Oh, you're only cutting 500,000. Oh, it's now 2 million. Now we're talking real money. Sometimes it's the money and sometimes it's the principle of the thing and the discipline it creates. But this is $1 trillion. So our budget is 6-something trillion. This is 1/6 of our budget. And one of the things that we that they want to do is to cut, what is it, 2 or 3? It's not half let's listen to some of these. I think you're going to find them very, very interesting. The one I guess that got the most attention, it's not the most money. It was half a million. That's and what came to New York, and that was to study rats to determine. I'm just reading this, so don't blame me. To determine if lonely rats seek cocaine more than happy rats. So, first of all, how do you define? Tell me exactly who knows that a rat is happy or a rat is, what constitutes a lonely rat? He has no rat friends around him? Are the people in the Biden administration, I would consider some of them rats. Are they lonely rats or, I mean, do you ask a rat? Are you lonely? Well, that went to New York University. It sounds like kind of thing Hochul would be interested in. She'd probably going to have a big press conference when they answer it. Who do you think seeks cocaine more? The lonely rats or the rats that are smiling? Also, this is just a mere 10 grand, but this is awarded to ice skating drag queens. The National Endowment of the Arts will award a $10,000 grant to an ice skating drag queen to bring attention to climate change. That's not just you put together two woke things. That tell me the connection between drag queens and climate change. I'm sure there is one, and I'm just too poorly educated to understand it. There's going to be a $40,000 pigeon sculpture at the City Highline Park. Then they're going to. There's $2 million that's been spent, has been spent, or is going to be has been spent on infecting cats with COVID-19, and they killed them all and got nothing out of it. Can cats transmit COVID-19? And I don't know if they came up with an answer to it. I think actually they cured the cats with hydroxychloroquine and they didn't want to release it. Or maybe they killed the cats by giving them ivermectin, the horse medicine, which also turned out to be able to cure it, by the way. Now, how about this one? $10 billion for maintaining empty buildings. $10 billion for maintaining.
Hey, those buildings are going to stay empty by themselves.
You know, here's another one. This is the Biden answer to terrorism. We give them money, right? Lots of money. Like Iran, they had no money, and we gave them over $100 billion, and we gave Israel $14 billion. But we're giving money to Serbia and the Maldives to promote soccer as a way of warding off terrorism. Did you ever see what happens at a soccer match in some of those places when the goal didn't they kill a goalie who wasn't able to prevent a winning score in the World Cup? He went back. I think that was in Colombia. I think he went back to Colombia and they killed him the day they got back. It's a little tougher than baseball or football. You know, they never killed the poor guy in Buffalo who missed the kiss or missed the kick or
Scott Norwood.
Yeah. That $5 million to study kids looking at Facebook ads about food. How about looking at Facebook ads about changing your sex or something? Now, Dr. Maria may agree with this. They're going to spend $12 million on a pickleball complex in Las Vegas.
No, why should the government pay for that? I mean, I love pickleball, but I don't want my taxpayer money going.
You know, my experience with pickleball, watching her play with her friends, is every time they play, somebody gets injured.
We're very aggressive.
You're very aggressive, yeah, but it isn't just true of you. It's true of Wayne.
Yeah.
Pickleball players in Florida. I didn't know that there were pickleball players in
Right.
Las
That
Vegas.
is intense competition. I did know that from the country club.
Can you bet on pickleball? I bet in Las Vegas you can.
They do. They do.
We should check with those sports betting places, Ted.
Yeah.
Then look, $288,563 to create affinity groups amongst bird watchers based on who they are and how they identify. So this is a combination of bird watchers and, pronoun people. So they're funding climate change.
Quite the group.
They're funding climate change, drag queens. Bird watchers are fine, but the bird watchers who, believe in climate change.
I swear
By climate change, I don't mean the change of the four seasons. We all believe in that. We don't believe in it. Right. I mean, it's a sort of a fact. 3 million in Brazil for girls to become leaders on climate change. Now, why Brazil? I don't know. You might want to spend that money in China, where whatever we do with climate change, they wipe out 2 times with all of the coal that they're taking out and using. We mine coal here in the U.S. and we send it to China. But if you don't burn it here in the U.S., it doesn't affect anything, because from that side of the planet, it doesn't affect anything. It goes down. See, that side of the planet, Ted, it goes down rather than up. You didn't know that. Al Gore figured that out after he got the second $20 billion. 20 million on a Sesame Street show in Iraq to promote inclusion and mutual respect in Iraq, just in Iraq. Everybody else is going to not be respectful and not be included. Just the Iraqis are going to be wonderful. They're going to get $20 million to be inclusive and respectful.
Money. This is U.S. taxpayer money.
But there's a bunch more too. I mean, it used to be just fun, and I use some of the funny ones. There are actually a couple that are really serious, big money. But it's let me say again, it's $1 trillion. It's $1 trillion. It's real. If you could,
it used to just be like midnight basketball. Wasn't that a big thing with Bill Clinton in the 90s?
Oh, midnight basketball is what derailed the 1994 crime bill for a while.
Now imagine if it was, that's like small potatoes now. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Well, let me give him a couple of let me give him a couple of pieces of news. An MS-13 gang member is wanted for murder and terrorism in El Salvador, and he's was caught living illegally in New Jersey. But the illegal aliens that Biden let in are not criminals. I mean, the New York Times tells you that, and the Wall Street Journal says they're not disproportionately criminals. But this guy was let in the United States, and he was a murderer. He was a murderer in El Salvador, except we didn't know it, which gives you an idea of how good our vetting process is. He was the head of MS-13. Jonathan Stanley Garcia Vasquez. They're starting to, Now the guy who the guy who killed an off-duty police officer in Los Angeles in a wrong-way crash on December 12th. His name is Fernando Jimenez. And he's been deported twice to Mexico. And the second time he came back, we don't have a record of his coming back. He just came back. That's also true of the man who set on fire the homeless woman in the subway. He was also an illegal alien, and he had come in way back in 2019. He had been expelled, and then he was in the shelter. He was in a shelter in New York, and the guy who was his roommate says that morning he had a wonderful breakfast. Sounds like a really great breakfast at this nice hotel they're in, even though they're illegals, right? And but then when he smoked and used K2 and drank, he turned into a different person. Well, a different person, so that he took his lighter, this poor homeless woman who was just sleeping on the subway, and lit up her coat and dress, and nobody helped her. She didn't have a Daniel Penny around. According to his friend who said he was Zapata Khalil was his name. And I want to make a point about him, and I want to make a point about the Mexican who killed the cop who came in, of these two illegals. Remember, according to the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, everybody, we conservatives exaggerate how many of these people are criminals. They are so stupid. They have no appreciation of the difference between what you get when you just make the borders wide open and what you get when you have some degree of control over the borders. So for years, we had some degree of control over the borders. We had illegal immigration, but not wild and crazy and completely unregulated and completely inconsistent with the notion of a sovereign country. So people would come in. A lot of them wouldn't come in because they were afraid they'd get caught. A lot of them wouldn't come in because they were afraid they couldn't bring their drugs in, they would get caught. When you say surge to the border and come in, and we're basically going to let you all in, and you take your law enforcement people and use them as escorts for the illegals, you then get into the minds of people who are much more disproportionately criminals than a group that has to go through some vetting. So as Donald Trump has said very often, and people think it's a joke, it's not a joke. He said, if I ran one of these countries, I would send my criminals there. Why not? The jackass wants them, give them to him. Saves me money. Or worse than that, there are countries who wish us ill, like China, right? You don't think they used the last 4 years to send every spy they wanted to here? And we're going to live with that for some time. What about the terrorists? They haven't hidden away any number of people that they wouldn't take a chance with if there was the chance that they could be caught. 3 types of people that come in. Please remember this because they cover it up. Type number 1 are the ones you talk about most often. They get caught at the border under Trump and most other presidents. Most of them were detained. Under Biden, almost all of them were released. Those are the numbers where, for example, Trump's last year, 400,000, Biden's first year, 1.7 million. Then that went up to 2.2, 3.5, 2.8. Altogether, probably it's going to turn out to be even more when you toss in the ones he was doing under the table, which were mostly Chinese, but 8.5 million that we have their names. Another 2 million who were gotaways. We saw them, might have even gotten a name, or at least an identity. We got something. And then the people you never see. That would account for example, Fernando Jimenez and Khalil, the guy who killed the woman on the subway. because there's no record of them coming in. They're not on the detained at the border and let go right away, or on the got away list, which means they came in one of those places of which there is endless amount of space, where you can come in undetected at the border if you have the help of the cartels who know the border better than our border patrol does. And believe me, that's how the fentanyl comes in. That's how most of the Chinese high-level spies come in. And that's how ISIS and the terrorists bring in their people, because both China and the terrorists have had a 20-year relationship with the Mexican cartels. And it's their money that's made the Mexican cartels right now probably the richest organized crime group in the world, with representatives in almost every city, including the one I'm sitting in Manchester. I mean, it's amazing. You can see a map. They're all over the place. So, I mean, they're committing crimes. I mean, I pull them out now because I'm just incensed at the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal saying, well, of course, most of them are legal or act legally in comparison to American citizens. That's like a stupid old person, like a dumb old person instead of a smart one who just can't recognize there's been change. This is a different kind. It is a different kind of illegal immigration when you open your borders and you basically say, here, I just opened the door of my house, come in and rape me. You think the rapist might show up? Nobody's going to stop you. Sebastian Zepeda Khalil, who burned the homeless person, came into America originally, I think in 2019. He was deported. He was thrown out. Came back in a shelter in New York, getting nice meals, getting treated better than American homeless and our veterans. And he burned her down, killed her. He's here thanks to Biden and Adams. And don't let Adams off the hook. I mean, he's doing all this stuff now, but he's the guy who made it New York City super, uber sanctuary city. And the guy who was questioned, I want you to listen to this, please, because this is a little giveaway of something I've been telling you from the very, very beginning. Adams likes to say, "Oh, they come here and work." And the New York, even the Wall Street Journal, who are writing about illegal immigrants of a different era. This is important. It's very, very important because these people will work, and they'll say, "These people don't work." Adams did a program to get work for people, and only 5% showed up. So, Mr. Zepeda Khalil's friend, who said he was a very nice man before he started using the drugs and the drinking, and then he would be a really difficult person, and he would come back drunk most days, as do many of them. And another resident of the shelter, another illegal, did describe him as, this man's name is Juan Medrano, an illegal, says he was in his own world. He was kind of awkward. He didn't work. And then he goes on to say, most people that live here don't work. Most of these people who come in don't work and don't want to work. So don't tell us how it's helping us take up jobs Americans don't want. You're stuck in a history that unfortunately was wiped away by Nitwit and his cabal. So we're going to just finish on the note that how amazing about the Duke lacrosse team, huh? Everybody was sure that was a big racial incident. The president of the university suspended and removed the kids from school before they even had an arraignment, much less a trial. You know, why is it that if you're on the other side of the left, you don't get the presumption of innocence anymore, huh? And if you are on the left side, you don't get prosecuted at all. Like all the 2020 protesters, none of them prosecuted. like all the people who came over illegally and beat up some of our Border Patrol agents. None of them prosecuted. Well, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. You can still enjoy the Christmas season. It's 12 days of Christmas until the Feast of the Epiphany, when the Magi come and visit the baby Jesus, which is in some countries as important and as significant as Christmas. It is in Hispanic culture. I used to have a ceremony at Gracie Mansion every year for Three Kings Days, because of the heavy and strong Hispanic presence in New York. It was quite a nice celebration too. And in the Armenian church, it's I think it's when they celebrate Christmas, on the Feast of the Three Kings. Yes, I used to go to their mass, not every year, but I went a couple of times, because then I could kind of like relive Christmas. Didn't have to have it over with. So this is a Christmas season. And of course, we have the New Year coming up as well, which is a New Year we're really all looking forward to, I think. Boy, we want it to come fast. We just don't know what he's going to do to us. Well, I hope you all had a chance to be with your families somewhat, because Christmas is about that. And I hope that you had just a wonderful time and really enjoyed it. And but also just had even just a little time to reflect on what it's about. It's about how much God loves you, and that he let his son come to the earth to save you, but also to give you a lesson, a book on how you can be a good person, on how, well, you can say any way you want how you can gain salvation. It's really on how you can be a good person, how you can be a person who takes care of other people, because that's what he said, right? Take care of the least of them. You're taking care of me. So just have a wonderful Christmas, and pray for those people who are at war. Pray for the hostages, please. It's been a long time that they've been ignored, and who knows how many and what condition they're in. But let's get them out. And God bless America.
From the age of 7 until the age of 21.
say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows, only time. We gotta
Yeah.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, We're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given